Why did God allow Hitler to kill 6 million Jews in Germany? God is disinterested in human affairs. Why would anybody worship him?
When God became a human being, what happened to him? Okay, now he's a classic example of what I'm talking about. I would love for you to tell me why he, as an African American, believes in Jesus. Come on, man, give it to me. Those dumb Africans believe in Jesus because they were colonized by those horrible white folks.
Like, I am so tired of just having to walk around on my campus and get preached at about the Bible. I believe that I am God. I am God.
Dive into Christian Pastor Cliffe Knechtle's most viral debates, the debates that have turned him into one of the most loved evangelists in our era. Make sure to stick to the end as Cliffe takes on college students from every worldview. Leave your thoughts in the comments below and enjoy the video.
I was speaking at the University of Arizona, and I made some real attacks on rape. And I said it's embarrassing to look at the statistics on how many women in university get raped, how evil. Guy raises his hand and says, I date rape. And I said, you gotta be kidding me. How on earth do you justify that? And he says, very simple. I have a high testosterone level. And I said, well, sir, like it or not, that's really evil. That is totally dehumanizing a woman. I couldn't believe he was so honest, but I found it refreshing. All you gotta do is look at the statistics, guys. An incredible number of young women are raped, and it's sick, it's evil, and the reason it's evil is not because I'm a nice white guy. It's evil because God created women and men in his image. He created our sexuality for a purpose, and that purpose is not to rape, not to date rape, but to learn to control yourself and to make a lifelong commitment to one person and enjoy sex within the context of a heterosexual marriage. Thanks for raising that. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. That's a completely unbelievable story for the pure fact of like somebody raising their hand and saying I raped someone and didn't either immediately get jumped or reported to the police or anything of that nature. That's just a completely implausible story to me, because I know for certain, like, if in a crowd of 20 to 30 people you say I rape people on the regular, that's not gonna go well for you. I can't help but think you made up that story.
Oh, all right. Thanks for your honesty. I appreciate that. I promise you, sir, the guy raised his hand. He didn't say I rape people. He said I have date raped and I support date rape. That's what he said.
That's
at the University of Arizona, Tucson, Arizona, several years ago. That happened. And I can promise you, sir, I would think if you were out here on Monday, the way a couple of students treated me, that you would understand that that is not so implausible. When I have a guy standing right here waving his backside in my face, that's pretty outrageous.
We're asking, were there any repercussions?
Like for him saying that he rapes people on the regular?
He didn't say I rape people on the regular. He said I've done date rape.
That is rape.
Okay, define date rape
just
then,
rape.
because it sounds like you think that they're different things.
That is just
Yes,
rape.
they are different in a person's mind. A person will use the phrase date rape to justify their evil. The same way a person will use eugenics to justify wiping out Jews.
No.
Oh, yes.
No.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what the Nazis
Date
did.
rape is drugging someone to rape them. That is
He
rape.
literally admitted to rape,
Yes,
and nothing happened.
nothing happened.
I can't.
That's not possible. I mean,
But if they're
Well, then you're living in fantasy, ma'am and
I
sir.
think you were living.
No. He said it flat out. And I can promise you, for you to say what you say right now, and to think that you don't judge, would be a joke.
I judge someone who rapes people. Yes, I.
No. You made a judgment call about me lying. That is amazing that you would be that judgmental. Incredible. You weren't there. I was at the University of Arizona, in Tucson, Arizona, and the guy said it flat out. And for you to say, I'm lying, wow, where do you get off accusing me of lying when you don't have the faintest idea what the guy said? And by the way, I also used to live in South Boston, and I also used to confront white racists. And I can promise you those white racists in South Boston said a lot of really trashy things. And I also was almost beaten up and hit with, and almost got bricks hitting me in the head in South Boston because I stood against racism. And I can promise you, 100 years ago, if that student on Monday would have done to somebody what he did to me, he'd have been in trouble. He's not in trouble today, but he would have been in trouble. Culture does change, doesn't it? What's acceptable and what's unacceptable in a culture changes.
So you saying that him saying that he date rapes, are you saying that that's acceptable? Is that what you're saying?
How on earth, in light of the fact that I just said, that was absolutely evil. I confronted the guy and I said, sir, what you did was evil, in spite of the fact that you have a high testosterone level.
But you did nothing about it.
You didn't report him to the police?
You say it's evil, but you do nothing about it.
He just admitted verbally to raping someone. That is grounds to go to the police and say, hey, this student, take a picture of him, because you can do that, free nation. Take a picture of him and be like, this student on the University of Arizona campus
right,
told me he raped someone,
yeah,
and that he partakes in date rape. You didn't go to the police and at least give them a description of the guy.
No, I did not.
So you're part of the problem then. You're just allowing
The
it to
police
happen.
were already there. The security was already there. And the security chose to do nothing. It's a free speech area. We were having a dialogue, and the police chose to do nothing. But they were there, same way security's been around here. Security's been around here, and they don't stop people from saying what they say, okay?
Why does it seem that hypocrites are more relevant in society today, or at least more obvious than those who are not hypocrites?
Because you haven't watched carefully enough all the humble followers of Christ on this campus who serve the poor, feed the hungry, just the way Jesus did. You don't need me to tell you about Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman. Go out and watch the movie, Harriet Tubman, produced in 2019, about a black slave who escaped slavery, and then due to her faith in Christ, she went back south. She went back and rescued hundreds of slaves from slavery because of her faith in Christ. Come on, wake up, you guys. Smell the coffee. There are followers of Christ all around who are doing incredible deeds in obedience to Jesus Christ.
But my point, I think, maybe, and a lot of people hold this belief, like, what can we do about this hypocritical Christianity? Because it seems to be a pretty big problem that seems to be impacting a lot of people's lives in a real negative way.
Yeah.
And so, as somebody who's, like, having this platform and really, like, talking about, you know, how great Jesus is, I respect that. I 100% respect you for that, and I respect you to have that belief. But I think that you've got to recognize that whenever other people hear that, they're expecting you to turn around and acknowledge, like, okay, but here's the work that we got to do, okay? Here's all the kids that keep getting diddled, and this is what we're going to do about it, okay? Here's the all the homophobia that happens. Here's what we're going to do about that, you know? I think that that's what people want to hear.
Good. I am convinced that the ultimate solution to America's problem is not going to occur on Tuesday. And it's not going to occur in 2024 either. I'm saying the ultimate solution to America's problems is Jesus Christ, not a political agenda. I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat.
Why did God allow Hitler to kill 6 million Jews in Germany? Why does God let normal, healthy, innocent children die of natural disasters and severe diseases and war?
Ultimately,
Doesn't this prove that God is disinterested in human affairs? And if he is disinterested in human affairs, why would anybody worship him?
When God became a human being, what happened to him? Okay, now he's a classic example of what I'm talking about. He asked a very hard, very serious question, and before he even allowed me to answer, he walked away. Is that being open-minded? No, he didn't ask a question. He made a point. But he disguised it in the form of a question. That is intellectual dishonesty.
So
I'd like to hear the answer.
So sorry, you go ahead.
I was just saying I'd like to hear the answer to that question. Why should we worship him if he either doesn't care if we die or if he's not all powerful?
I appreciate your honesty. First point, when we say that God is all-powerful, we do not mean that everything that happens is God's will. Why? The all-powerful God chose to limit his power by creating us with a free will. So if I walk up to her, smack her beautiful face, and then turn to you and say, God made me do it, I'm a liar, I'm a con artist. God gave me a hand for a purpose, to respect her and to love her. But because I have a free will, if I choose to abuse this hand, roll it into a fist and send it crashing into her beautiful face, and then have the audacity to say, God made me do it, I'm a liar and I'm a con artist.
I think that like the reason why a lot of people, like younger people like myself, are leaving the church in droves is literally because they feel like the church there's definitely a lot of hateful rhetoric. There's a lot, especially towards LGBT individuals. A lot of the times churches are, a lot of churches, I've seen so many of them, they'll be like, some of them, it's so ironic when I hear, I'm a Christian, I don't judge.
What do you mean, Christians say? Why don't you meet some African Christians? Why don't you meet some South American Christians? Why don't you meet some Asian Christians? Guess what? They're not Republican and they're not Democrat. In fact, they really don't care too much about the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, but they do care a lot about Jesus Christ. You see, let's stop reacting to some political situation in the United States, some bias in America, okay? Christianity is not Western. Christianity began in Palestine. Christianity was not begun by a white dude. Christianity was not begun by the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. Christianity was begun by Jesus of Nazareth, who claimed to be more than a man. He claimed to be God in human form. And the overwhelming evidence is the dude was in touch with reality because he died and he rose from the dead. You can trust him. You can't trust Christianity. Christianity's been used to justify the Crusades, the Inquisition, Salem witch trials, slavery in the United States. Christianity's been used to justify. How sick is that? But my African American brothers and sisters don't give a white Christian racist the power to turn them off to the true Jesus, who wasn't white, and he wasn't a Republican, and he wasn't a Democrat, he wasn't a capitalist, he wasn't a socialist, and he wasn't a Marxist. He talked about the kingdom of God, not the kingdom of America. That's the Jesus you got to get to know.
So I have a quick question. So why do you believe that the younger generation is leaving Christianity in droves?
Oh, it's real simple. Because people want to have sex outside of marriage. They realize that I don't want to be a total hypocrite and say I believe in Jesus. So I'm going to be a moral relativist, which means I write the rules, which means I can have sex with whoever I want to, whenever I want to. Go ahead.
However, I don't think that is the case because I'm like, when I was growing up in the church, so many of them had sex outside of marriage. So many
Were they being hypocritical?
Well, let me speak. So many Christians, like I know, like literally were having sex outside of marriage.
And it's wrong.
Yeah, they were like literally, and then meanwhile, they were literally calling girls sluts and whores.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Jesus condemns that. So what's your point?
Which is true.
What's your point?
I'm not finished. I believe that a lot of the reason why like so much of Christianity is so distorted by most of the modern like churches, especially the evangelical churches.
Here we go, white America, white West. So ream on it, but so
then
what?
Again, and come to speak of it, when you say, there's African Christians, there's Asian Christians.
Yeah, far more.
And what do you think is the reason why why it's so predominant in certain parts? Colonialism.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard Philip talking to an Ethiopian eunuch in the book of Acts? Do you know what that Ethiopian eunuch did? He went to Ethiopia, which is not in the United States. For those of us who are geographically challenged.
But the United States.
He went to Ethiopia, and the Ethiopian church is one of the oldest churches in the world, and it has nothing to do with the West. It's in Ethiopia, Northern Africa. That's one of the earliest churches. And you know where a dude named Thomas went? He went to India, to southern India, and he planted a church in southern India, which is also one of the oldest churches in the world, which means the Ethiopian church and the church in India is older than any church in the United States. Much older.
But do you want to know why a lot of those churches, a lot of Christianity was so widespread?
Oh, I would love for you. Can you come here a second? I would love for you to tell me why he, as an African American, believes in Jesus. Do you believe in Jesus? Okay, so please tell me, and I would love for you to just keep your line of thinking going, because you're doing a great job. Why does he believe in Jesus? Come on, man, give it to me.
He probably grew up with it, or...
He was colonized, right?
No.
Oh, no?
No, not...
Well, that was your line of thought. Those dumb Africans believe in Jesus because they were colonized by those horrible white folk. Give me a break.
Can you stop using the race card for once? And
No, you started it.
You started it.
You started it, man.
Like, please. I mean, most people that I know that are Christians are either grew up with it, like myself, or like a lot of my relatives that were Christian, a lot of them were addicts. And they turned to Christianity because they felt like that was the only way.
Yeah. And you know what the largest group of atheists demographically in the world is? White guys. Very interesting. Yeah. The largest group of atheists demographically in the world is white males.
But I'm not white.
That's very interesting.
Not fully white, at least.
Fine, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about white folks. It's white males that comprise the highest percentage of atheists in the world. So please don't tell me that it's these people of different races who are colonized by Christians. Baloney. Africans understand materialism is bankrupt. Why? Because there's more to reality than making money. And Africans have put their faith in Christ, not because they've been colonized, but because they have a spiritual dimension as well as a physical dimension, and they appreciate capitalism. And that's why many African nations embrace capitalism. But they understand America is not the answer. The West is not the answer. The West is bankrupt in its moral relativism, in the evil that it does. But Jesus Christ, he is different. And that's why so many of my African American brothers and sisters have put their faith not in Christianity, not in the white man's religion, in Jesus Christ, because he is different. And just read Dr. Martin Luther King, for crying out loud. Dr. King understood that Jesus Christ is different. And that's why he called the ministers of Birmingham, Alabama, to stop their segregation, to stop their racism.
So I'm hearing multiple abuses here of the church, which you have a legitimate point to say, and that's why Jesus Christ, his entire time here on earth, spoke against religious hypocrisy. So wouldn't it make a lot of sense for you to bring up hypocrisy? I agree with you. I only see that as leading credence to who Jesus truly was. If there was no Christian hypocrisy, then what in the world was Jesus talking about? And we would have to say, oh, he probably wasn't really speaking the truth too much. And the most recent sociological studies are evangelical, we could say Protestant, that's what the study shows, Protestant men are the least likely to abuse their children and their wives, and the most likely to help grow their kids up in well-being and happiness. No, don't take it from me. Go look at the studies yourself. Toxic masculinity. So what you're talking about just doesn't stack up to the latest research.
And all of you who have parents who've divorced don't need me to tell you how painful divorce is. I performed a lot of weddings, and never have I performed a wedding with a guy who says, I can hardly wait to divorce her, or a woman who says, I can hardly wait to divorce him. No. Okay, so divorce is not God's best. And divorce brings pain, separation, alienation, scarring into people's lives. And too many of you standing right here, right now, know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm sorry your parents divorced. I'm sorry they couldn't love each other the way Jesus calls us to. And it leads to a lot of garbage and a lot of scarring of children's lives. And it stinks.
I hope I don't get divorced, honestly. I hope I hope I end up marrying a loving man who cares for me, loves me, literally has a good job and all this stuff. And the thing about marriage is that you need to have, that it's all about cooperation. I've noticed that a lot of these evangelical, Catholic, Mormon, a lot of these marriages tend to sound so miserable.
Well, I join you in hoping that you marry someone who loves you, but I happen to hope that it'll be a woman and not a man.
It won't be a woman, that's the thing. It won't be. Here's the thing. When I hear people like you be like, oh, being gay, well, I chose this lifestyle.
I never said that.
Yeah, that's what you're implying.
No, I am not.
Yes, you
I
are.
never implied that. I never said it.
You ever heard?
I don't have the faintest idea why you're gay, and I would never choose to say why you're gay. All right? There are lots of different reasons people are gay. There are lots of different
I was born
reasons
like this.
people are bisexual. There are lots of different reasons people like to have sex with animals. I don't know.
No. Don't compare me to somebody.
I'm not comparing you. I am making a point. The point is, I don't know what motivates a person to do what they do sexually. I don't know. I worked among prostitutes and pimps in inner city Boston when I was in seminary. I don't know what motivates a prostitute to be a prostitute. I don't know what motivates a pimp to be a pimp. That's their choice.
But I'm not a prostitute. But I didn't
say you were a prostitute. You told me you're looking forward to marrying a man who cares for you, and I agreed with you. I hope that the person you marry will care for you. But I went on and pointed out that God created marriage, your sexuality, for you to enjoy with a woman who makes a lifelong commitment to you.
Well, I don't believe in God either, so that's irrelevant. You can't stay.
Well, then why do you have a rational mind? If there is no God, why is your mind rational?
Well, why?
You know what you believe? You know what you believe? You believe that your rational mind comes from the irrational.
That's you.
Is that a leap of faith?
Oh.
That's blind faith. You believe, if you're an atheist, that the rational mind comes from the non-rational or the irrational, from inanimate matter. That's scary. That is blind faith. As a theist, I know that my rational mind, which puts me in touch with reality, is a gift from a rational being, God. But you, if you're an atheist, believe, oh no, my rational mind comes from the non-rational, the irrational. Wow. That is a miracle. The only problem is you don't have a miracle worker because you don't believe in God. I'm convinced your rational mind is a gift that God has given you. Therefore, please use it well because it's very important.
Yeah, well, I'm also young, stupid. I'm a whore. I make dumb decisions all the time, but don't we all?
Yes,
don't we all?
I make dumb decisions all the time also. I'm a sinner, and I desperately need God's grace. And that's what Jesus Christ offers me through his death on the cross. I'm a dirty, rotten sinner just like you. I'm no better than you. I am no better than you. None. We both are sinners. We both have flipped God off, just in different ways.
I feel like I wish this was the reading challenge on Drag Race.
Yeah, well, I thought you chose to stand where you're standing. I didn't know anybody forced you to stand here. Is anybody forcing you to stand here?
No.
All right, so if you have a free will, I respect your free will. You can stand and talk the way you want to stand and talk.
Let anybody else speak. How
Good.
about
All right.
anybody else?
Sir.
There's been a couple issues with things that you've been saying that I have questions with, but I'm just going to do a quick short one. One of my main questions that I always have is just that given what you touted earlier, a tri-omni God, a omnibenevolent, omnipotent, omniscient, just all-powerful, all-knowing, all-caring, how do you explain the existence of evil and suffering?
You bet. Very slowly, having to acknowledge I can't give you a complete answer. I do not know ultimately why God allowed evil, suffering, and death. But here's my first point. If you're an atheist or if you're an agnostic, what is your solution to the problem of evil and death?
My solution to the evil problem?
The solution. What is your solution to the problem of evil and death? If you're an atheist, if you're an agnostic.
I mean, the solution for everybody is just to be as good as possible. I mean, everybody should aim for being good.
True, according to their own definition of good, right?
Becoming, own definition good, whether it's objective good from God or objective good from another source.
Well, remember the atheist or agnostic says either there is no God or I don't know whether there's a God.
Yeah.
So good is not defined by God if you're an atheist.
Yeah.
If you're an atheist, good is defined by your culture or by the power elite or by yourself or by majority opinion.
It could be just defined as good, good just exists. Whether God or not.
How can good just exist?
Good could possibly, because I don't know if there's a God or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if there is such a thing as a God that is out of time, like that is eternal, why can't other concepts like good just be out of time and eternal, just a thing that exists like God?
Okay. Sir, good is an intangible value. You cannot see good.
You can't see God either.
Exactly. You cannot measure good, right?
You can't measure God. It could exist eternally, just like it could just be God. It could just be God. It could not be just God. It could just be the existence of good and evil that just exists in the world. But given a tri-omni God who's all-powerful and all-caring, why evil and suffering exists doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, good. You hang with me and we'll go.
If he's as powerful and caring as he says.
In order to understand goodness, there has to be a mind. This tree has no understanding of good. This cement has no understanding of good. See, good can't just exist. Because goodness requires definition. And it's an intangible value that you can't measure. You can't grab goodness. Which means you got to have a mind involved in defining what is good.
If we're going by that definition, then what is defining God?
Okay,
What
we'll get to
created
that.
God?
We'll get to that.
All the arguments you could give for God could also go for good, just as a general concept. It could
Because
just exist eternally out of time, unmeasurable.
No, sir. That's not fair. If God exists, God doesn't depend on anybody. If goodness as an intangible value exists, it depends on a mind to define it.
God would also be an intangible.
Obviously, that's right.
It could, like, coming from a different viewpoint, outside of trying to see where, the reasoning for things, you could say that it could be what we define as God, societally, could just be the existence of just that good, in the same context of eternal and timeless and all that. Like,
if there is no God, goodness is not eternal, because goodness demands a mind to define it.
Then
which means,
then in giving that same argument, then what mind defines God? There would be something above him if something has to make him or define him.
No, God can be an eternal being without beginning, without end.
I don't think you see my point, because goodness could be the same thing.
You're not listening, sir.
You're giving goodness a different definition.
No, sir, you're not listening to me, and I don't appreciate it. I told you flat out, and I think you're smart enough to get this point. Goodness demands some mind to define it. The tree, the cement, has no ability to understand goodness. You've got to have a mind. Do you see that, or do you disagree with me?
I think we're coming to different definitions of good, because then, there's still, outside of that though, given your definition of good, still, why is evil or suffering?
Forget my definition of good. Your definition of good.
I'm just saying, given yours, why does evil and suffering exist?
All right, You're
fine. Evading that part of the question.
Okay? But sir, I got a real problem with your thinking. All right, I don't think you're being honest with yourself. That's not fair. You know very well that I've cornered you totally, intellectually. You know very well that you cannot have goodness without some type of mind to create and define it. It's impossible. This does not define goodness. That does not define goodness. And that camera does not define goodness. And your glasses do not define goodness. Neither does your shirt, your pants, or your sneakers. You've got to have a mind to define goodness. Sorry, you have no option intellectually. This has nothing to do with God. It has nothing to do with Jesus. It has to do with simply thinking fairly. All right, moving on to next. Okay, but your point is, okay, but if this good God exists, why is there evil and suffering? It's real simple, sir. If an all-powerful God chooses to partially limit his power by giving you a free will, by giving me a free will, then if I go up to her, slap her in the face, and say, God made me do it, what am I? A liar. A total liar. God gave me a hand for a purpose, to respect this woman, to love this woman. But because I have a free will, I don't have to respect her, I don't have to love her, I can steal her backpack, I can smack her around, I can abuse her. And if anybody says, God made me do it, they are a liar. Flat out. So, why does evil exist? Evil exists because God limited his power. He's all powerful, but he limited his power by choosing to give her a free will, me a free will, all of us a free will. Does that make any sense?
It kind of answers it for humanity, but suffering also exists just in the animals.
Good.
Like, why does a zebra deserve to get its throat crushed to death by a lion? Like,
Good.
How is that caring or just? Like, coming from a Christian standpoint, we have sinned as humans, coming from the Christian standpoint, so we are, we have free will and we can make mistakes and all that.
Yep.
But why have animals just, not have their perfect little ecosystem where nothing has to suffer and only humans suffer?
Very good. Now we're thinking, all right? So, Genesis chapters 1 and 2. God creates a good world. God created this and God saw that it was good. God created that and God saw that it was good. God created this and God sees that it's good. So when God created, he did a good job. No evil. But Genesis chapter 3 records how human beings rebel against God. And one of the consequences of human beings telling God, get lost, get out of here, is God honors our free will, takes a step back from planet Earth, and nature unravels. And so you're absolutely correct, sir. Animals suffer. I have suffered. We all will suffer. Not because God is sicking us, but because God created a world with free will, people with free will. We chose him to tell him to get out. When he gets out, chaos fills the gap. Genetic breakdown, death occur.
Because humans decided to reject God, God punished the animals.
One of the consequences.
It seems uncaring and unjust.
No.
Given a try on the God.
No, it's an issue of consequences. Who put Texas State together? Did they do it last summer?
Well, the consequence should go to the humans that did it. You don't punish someone else for somebody else's misdoing.
That would be a nice way for things to happen. But unfortunately, because I have free will, if you're a husband and I smack you around, it might affect how you treat your wife when you go home tonight. It might affect how you treat your kids when you go home tonight. You see, for me to think that, well, I've got free will and it's just me and it's just you, and there are no consequences to the way I exercise my free will, that's a lie. Total lie.
Well, how I would interact with animals is one thing, but how animals should interact with each other. Why does suffering exist between animals, not from humans to animals, but between animals, suffering exists. Why are they being punished for suffering between themselves?
They're not being
punished. If they didn't do anything wrong.
You're correct. You're absolutely correct. They didn't do anything wrong. The same way, little babies that I have to bury didn't do anything wrong. But they're born into an unfair world where birth defects occur, and so babies die. Not because they've done something wrong. They have not done anything wrong. But they are born into an unfair, unjust, messed up world. Thanks for raising those issues.
Let's say like Grand Canyon. That looks beautiful. Sculptors and painters try to come up with beautiful patterns like that all the time and often fail. Sunset. We try to paint beautiful sunsets and we try to paint beautiful works of art, but nature has something more beautiful. I think that these sorts of patterns, these sorts of, it's not as straightforwardly looking like a designer, but you're getting there. You're getting to things that are complex, beautiful, interesting. You have things like ecosystems, the water cycle. All these things really do look like they took a little bit of thought, but they didn't.
If you and I are walking up and down the beach, and we come across ripples in the sand, and you ask me, hey, Cliff, how'd those ripples get there? And I say, well, obviously the waves. The waves washed over the sand, and those ripples are there. You'd accept that as reasonable. But if we walk further down the beach, and we see John loves Mary written in the sand, and if you ask me, hey, Cliff, how did that occur? And I say, well, because the waves washed up and down the sand. That's ludicrous. Why? When you have densely packed information, it demands an intelligent mind. The waves do not write in the sand, John loves Mary. There is too much densely packed information there. The DNA of a single cell has more densely packed information than 3 sets of the Encyclopedia Britannica. To argue that the DNA and the amount of densely packed information that is in the DNA of a single cell is just an accident is preposterous to me. Densely packed information demands an intelligent mind. There's got to be some type of creator. Charles Darwin pointed out that if you could show that something was not irreducibly complex, the whole idea that evolution has an origin would be blown to bits. Well, a single cell, a single living cell is irreducibly complex. A single living cell cannot go from one simple stage to the next simple stage to the next simple stage until it suddenly becomes a living cell. It's irreducibly complex. So, it's far more reasonable for me to believe in the beginning God than it is for me to believe in the beginning matter and energy, or in the beginning nothing. That's why belief in God is so wise. It's not a scientific question, it's a philosophical question, sir.
I agree with you.
So I don't care how dumb science is, I don't care how intelligent science is. Science is simply not the issue. It's a wonderful branch of knowledge, but you're never going to scientifically prove God, you're never going to scientifically disprove God. Instead, it's a philosophical, theological question: does God exist? And see, the question, is there an intelligent mind behind the process, is not a scientific question. Science says nothing about that. It's a philosophical question. So, when you ask yourself, what is the meaning of life? That is not a scientific question. But we all love to live our lives as if there is some type of meaning. Well, let's ask ourselves, why do we insist upon living life as if life has meaning? I would argue because the evidence is we were hardwired in such a way as to understand meaning and purpose in life. But if there is no God,
please,
life is meaningless, sir. She can do whatever she wants to. That's her worldview. So she can do whatever she wants to.
Actually, I'm not allowed to say my worldview because these are sexist who don't like to let women speak.
Ma'am,
And
you
it's
can
not
speak
that I
anytime
don't
you
believe
want
that
to.
Your God's right, but I don't believe in the Bible.
Why is woman
Guess
valuable?
what?
Why is woman valuable?
I don't really know, according to you.
Well, if you accuse both of us of being sexist, I'm sure you have some type of view of why woman is valuable. Now tell us, why is woman valuable? We're two sexist guys.
You,
Yeah?
myself, as a human on this earth.
Yes?
I'm a citizen of the world, and my
Yes.
purpose is to do good. You're spreading hate and saying that your chosen people who believe in your Bible are correct.
That's
and
not
that
what
is
I've said
not
at all.
the correct. Yes, you're trying to be an absolute
I said flat out to this man, I said, if I say I believe in Jesus and hate him, what am I?
You're
and this
a
guy,
hypocrite, and
thank
you
you.
are a hypocrite,
Exactly.
and that's why you're up
So
here
you know
talking.
very, very well that if anybody says I believe in Jesus and I hate women or I hate people, they're a hypocrite.
You're
Because
saying
Christ
if
commands his
people
followers
hold
to love.
beliefs different than you, they're wrong.
Pardon?
And that's what you're saying, and it's just annoying. I'm so sick of seeing this bull on campus. Can't you go film your little project somewhere else?
Look,
like, I am so tired of just having to walk around on my campus and get preached at about the Bible. Like, go somewhere else. I don't want to go away. I want this to go away. Because guess what I believe? I believe that I am God. I am God. I am my own God.
What does that mean, you're God?
It means that I create my own reality and I manifest what I want to see in this world.
Go create your own
And
reality
I am-
somewhere else. We're trying to have a discussion.
Yeah, I am creating my own reality right here. I'm saying your discussion is stupid and it shouldn't go on. It's pointless.
We
and it's an
disagree with each other, so we're
exercise
respecting
in
and
duality.
disagreeing.
Look, there's a difference between what you're doing and what we're doing. What you're doing is you're disrespecting both of us, just talking over us. You literally said you're God. And what
Yeah.
we're trying to do is have an intelligent discussion. We disagree, fundamentally.
You're having
but
an
we
intelligent
value.
discussion by misquoting people and spreading misinformation. It's annoying, and I'm making a mockery of you because that's what it deserves
I'm
to be
sorry
made of
we're
you.
annoying you, but there's a real virtue in being intellectually honest and trying to air your opinions out and learn the weaknesses of your views and the strengths of other views. That's why even if I disagree with this man, I respect him. I'm glad he comes here.
I don't want him coming in here anymore. I want him to leave.
All right, I'm convinced that you have value because you're not pawn scum evolved to a higher order. You're a human being, a precious human being created in the image of God. And God loves you so
I
much.
don't believe I'm created in the image of your God. I'm
not
created
my
in
God.
the image of a matrilineal God. Why don't you talk about the pagan religions that existed before the Bible ever? Why is history confined to you to a really small
All right,
period
what
of time?
pagan God do you believe in?
All of them.
Which one?
All of them. I believe in the African gods. I believe in the Celtic gods. I believe in the Buddhist gods and the Hindu gods.
Okay. So you believe that every God exists?
Yes.
All right. So you have no problem with Jesus, right?
No, I don't have any problem
We're
with
just
Jesus.
out here
My
talking about
problem
Jesus.
with you and your Jesus is, can't you just take it somewhere else? It's not.
Oh, well, I've been invited here by students, okay?
Apparently you're invited by some students, but man, other students, you're just annoying.
Oh,
You're
no.
annoying.
Other open-minded students, like this gentleman who was just here dialoguing with me, understand that a liberal arts education is based on a free exchange of ideas.
Why do you misquote Mark Twain then? Why are you misrepresenting Mark Twain?
I haven't misrepresented Mark Twain.
Yes, you have. Mark Twain is an atheist. Why are you misrepresenting
I never said he was a Christian. I simply said Mark Twain once said, it's not the parts of the Bible I don't understand that disturb me, it's the parts of the Bible I do.
Mark Twain for your thing by misquoting
Because
him.
I agree with that part of Mark Twain's thinking.
Well, why
the
don't
Bible
you
is
say
all
other
too clear
quotes about God?
Let someone else speak.
I don't really want to.
It's all right, I'm talking with you, you're talking with me. Okay, now, what do you think about Jesus Christ?
I think he's a story, like any other story.
Good story, bad story?
I mean, I guess it's a pretty good story because it's made its way into lots of literature, and there's lots of dark magic stuff you can read about resurrecting yourself. So, I mean, I think he was a practitioner of black magic, yes.
Is there anybody else other than Jesus that you know of that's risen from the dead?
I know the Nazis were experimenting with it, and they did a lot of black magic experimentations.
The Nazis?
Yeah.
But they didn't really raise anybody from the dead, did they?
I mean, there's lots of stories about people raising from the dead. It's a very common story throughout all of Greek mythology, and the sun god in particular is very common. Like if you know the story of Apollo, I mean, it's just a motif that repeats itself over and over again, the story of the sun god rising. I mean, the resurrection is all part of it.
Right.
And I mean, I'm sure you know about Constantine too, right? Like the Byzantine Empire and how Constantine merged pagan values together with the Christian holidays to create harmony, so that Christianity actually has a lot of elements of older pagan religions involved in it that were enmeshed together as a political movement and not part of anything necessarily religious. And then there's a lot of aspects of Christianity that are political and not necessarily religious.
Right.
And a lot of people use religion to justify political goals
They sure
and
do.
suppress people.
We agree. We absolutely agree. Now let me ask you something. Are you a follower of Christ? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Could you come here a second? Now, why would this woman be a follower of Jesus Christ in light of the fact that 100 years ago, in this state, in this country, white Christians oppressed her great-grandmother and great-grandfather? See, I would argue that this woman has a real open mind. This woman is not going to give a white Christian racist the power to turn her off to the true Jesus Christ, who did not have a racist bone in his body. Instead, in his best-known parable, the parable of the Good Samaritan, found in Luke chapter 10, Jesus makes a direct frontal attack on racism. So you see, this woman has not given people who've abused Christ, twisted Christ, the power to turn her off to the true Jesus, who didn't have a racist bone in his body, who attacked racism, and communicated that all people have equal value because we're all created in the image of God.
And I would argue that she's had her culture stolen by white men like you, who have suppressed her mother homeland religion and her African roots by telling her the ethocentric view of Christianity she must accept to fit into your society.
Good. Now listen to her speak. When I've spoken? Now, ma'am, have you accepted Jesus Christ into your life because white people have forced you or brainwashed your mom and dad?
No, it's clear. You can look at the Bible and see that he obviously doesn't agree with slavery.
Good.
And that slavery was taken out of context and twisted what the Bible said to fit something that was economically profitable at that time.
Does she sound brainwashed to you?
Do you know your ancestors? Do you know your great-grandmother, your grandmother before that? Do you know where they came from?
Yeah.
And where did they come from? What's their history?
Africa, being brought here as slaves.
And do you know anything about their oral traditions? Do you know what they believed in Africa? Do you know what tribe they belonged to? Or has your history been stolen from you?
Just because I'm not there now, that's not to say I would still be there even if people had, even if the slave trade hadn't existed. That's not to say that I would have stayed in Africa anyway. I could have ended up in Europe or here just as easily.
But do you not want to know about your ancestors and their time when they were in Africa? Do you not think it's worthy? Do you not think their culture is worth something? Or do you prefer the culture that has been given to you by the white people?
I don't think making me a follower of Christ means I don't want to know my history and ancestry.
Maybe you haven't sought out that information. I can tell you everything about my ancestors.
Okay, that's not a case for against Christ anymore. If I could do the research and tell you history about my ancestors as well, that's still not going to change the truth of Christ.
That's a very good point. Did you get it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I got it.
Good. Think about it. That woman spoke truth. I come from Switzerland. My dad was an immigrant from Switzerland. It doesn't change Jesus Christ. Just because you come from Africa or the Middle East or Europe or South America or Asia doesn't change the truth about Jesus Christ.
I mean, I think I make my point pretty clear. I mean, she has her history robbed from her by people like you who try to present their narrative of history that is incorrect.
Oh, I've heard that point made by you, yes, but I've also heard her state very clearly that she has no problem studying her history, and she can study her history anytime she wants to and delve into it as deeply as she wants to. And I hope that you will respect her freedom to study exactly what she wants to study, when she wants to study it. And I hope that you would not be so manipulative as to denigrate her by saying, if you haven't studied something, then you're sad. Your thinking is rather denigrating of this woman, and I don't agree with you.
Well,
I have far more respect for her than you do, obviously.
I mean, obviously, since you're saying it, I mean, that's your claim.
No, you're accusing her of being brainwashed and hoodwinked by white people and white oppressors. She's a free, autonomous individual who thinks what she wants to. And we both agree that the white folks who, in the name of Christ, enslaved her grandparents or great-grandparents were totally contradicting Jesus Christ. And it was tragic and evil. And by the way, it wasn't relatively evil because I'm an enlightened, liberal white guy. It's wrong because all human beings are created in the image of God with an innate value, and the enslavement of African Americans in the United States was absolutely evil, not subjectively evil, because I happen to have a degree from an American university.
But
Who gives a rip?
It's not evil to not give rights to homosexuals. I mean,
I, as a follower of Christ, respect the right of a homosexual as a human being.
you called their sex bestiality, man.
No, I did not, and that is you are so intellectually dishonest, that's scary. I did not.
You compared them to having sex with
I did not compare that at all.
You made the analogy to
I am insisting. I did not, and you're being intellectually dishonest. What I said was, if there is no God, and if morality is relative, then what is the basis for saying that me having sex with my golden retriever is wrong? It's exactly what I was driving at. And if you didn't get the point, you're not listening.
Because it's not wrong.
Thank you. It's not wrong. If there is no God, and if morality is relative, there's nothing wrong with me having sex with my golden retriever. And I don't care how many reasons you want to give me, or you want to give me that it's wrong, that's your subjective opinion. And you better have the intellectual consistency to realize that if there is no God and morality is relative, then if I want to have sex with my golden retriever, for you to tell me that's wrong, bug off, you're an arrogant twit. If everything's relative, let's just live and let live. And if you want to have sex with anything that vibrates, nothing wrong with that. And if I want to have sex with a golden retriever, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I'm obviously convinced that sex is not an accident. I'm convinced that sex is a gift from God. And because it's a gift from God, there's a purpose for our sexuality. And that's outlined in Genesis 2:24, where we read, "For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother, be united to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh."
How do you explain like Greco-Roman society? How do you explain a society that existed as long as ours, where people practiced pretty much polygamous sexuality? The wife was to marry and produce children, and they had sex with virgin brides, and then a man was also free to have a mistress or sex with other men if they wanted to.
Sounds like America today.
Sounds like America today to you.
Yeah. And it sounds like Roman society. Julius Caesar was every woman's man and every man's man, so Julius Caesar was obviously bisexual. Sounds like Canaanite society. The Canaanites were very clear.
So do you
sex with a man, with a woman, with an animal, no problem. Sex with whoever you want.
Bible?
Pardon?
That black people wear the mark of Cain. That's in the Bible.
No, it is not. Show me where in the Bible it says that black people wear the mark of Cain.
There's
Show me that.
Lots of racist stuff in the Bible.
Really, give me one example.
Dude, there's tons of it. And then how also do you explain Mormons? I mean, what about Mormons?
Yeah, you got out of the kitchen because it was getting hot. I don't blame you. You got out of that kitchen real fast.
I mean, no. I don't want to. I mean, if you want to go into it, the Bible
Yeah,
does
that's what we're trying to do. Go into it. Where does the Bible say that African Americans are the children of Cain? Where does the Bible say
The
that?
Bible talks about the mark of Cain, and you can interpret the Bible any way you can. And until recently, lots of
No, you can't.
racist biblical
You can't
sects like
interpret the Bible any way you can and be intellectually honest.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, well, you can do anything you want, right? Yeah, but you don't have to have a PhD in the Bible to understand that those slave owners who used the Bible to justify slavery were perverting the living daylights out of it.
I think you're perverting it by saying that homosexuality is wrong.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the scriptures
Then why can't
communicate
you say you
that
support
homosexuality is
sexuality
wrong. That's
and
all.
that you
That's all we're
embrace
saying.
homosexuals? Why can't you say you like
No, you can read it for yourself. Read Romans chapter 1, 1 Corinthians chapter 6, 1 Timothy chapter 1, and it's
So you
very
don't
clear
like homosexuals? Are you
that
making that statement?
the practice of homosexual sex is communicated in the Bible
So
as being
are you
wrong.
condemning homosexuals?
No, I don't condemn anybody. It's not my
Okay,
job to condemn
then
anybody.
Why can't you say homosexuals are great, equal beings, and we love them as much as everyone else?
Oh, I can promise you, homosexuals are equal to all of us in value, and I love homosexuals, and I invite homosexuals to come to the church where I'm a pastor. I have homosexual friends who I treasure. So I don't know where you're getting off with this whole idea that if you follow Christ, you have to hate homosexuals. That's totally baloney. If you follow Christ, you have to love homosexuals.
Do you support their lifestyle then? I mean, then
No.
you need to be an advocate.
I've got a lot of friends who fornicate on a weekly basis, and I tell them fornication is wrong. I've got a lot of friends who are adulterers, and I tell them adultery is wrong. Why? Because according to Christ, sex outside of marriage, be it fornication or adultery, are twisting that beautiful gift of sex that God gave us. So, be you an adulterer, be you a practicing homosexual, be you a guy who's into pornography, I'm going to continue to communicate Jesus loves you. You have equal value, as we all do, because we're created in the image of God. But please begin to ask yourself, what's the purpose of my sex? Is it to go through orgasm 2.2 times a week? Or is there something more than that?
Child together and raise a family. Why are you against homosexuals raising a family together and living exactly the same lives as other Christian heterosexual counterparts?
I never said I'm against homosexual couples having a child. Okay, never once did I say that.
What about their marriage? What about their union? Why can't they be married under the eyes of your church? If they are in love and that's the one person they want to commit themselves for the rest of their life, what is wrong with that?
What's wrong with it is it's violating the purpose for which God gave them their sexuality. And that is why I'm not going to perform their wedding. But if they want to be joined by another person who wants to perform that wedding, so be it. I respect their right to do that. But I myself am not going to perform the wedding of an adulterer. I'm not going to perform the wedding of a person who's promoting and practicing homosexual sex, because I'm convinced that that's not the purpose for which God created marriage. That's
But
why.
you do realize there's a huge problem with overpopulation. I mean, these homosexual couples could adopt children that otherwise would not have homes. They'd be out on the streets starving. They could give them an amazing life. And you're not for that? You're not for that because the idea of sex is to make more people?
It's not the idea of sex to make more people.
Well, that's what you just said.
No, I did
thought
not.
that sex is an act of love to show another person, but according to you, it's to make more people.
Never once did I say that. You're totally misquoting me. You don't listen well, ma'am. Never once did I say the purpose of sex is to have babies. Never once.
Then what's the purpose of sex?
Thank you for asking that good question. I appreciate it.
So I can get it directly from you.
You bet. Thank you. Okay, the first reason for sex is that a male and a female make a lifelong commitment to each other so that companionship replaces loneliness. The second reason is that they might enjoy sex and the physical pleasure of sex as a gift from God. Third reason is so that they might bring children into the world.
But you said that was not, I mean, you can't really put that out there as a point because you said the purpose of marriage wasn't to produce children. I mean, you just said that, so now you're backtracking on your point. You're adding a point.
It's not the only reason. These guys listen well. Hear what they're saying? I never said that God gave us marriage for
But-
just sex.
Okay.
What I'm
but if
saying
a
is the first reason is
homosexual
companionship.
couple
The
can meet
second
all
reason
your
is
reasons.
pleasure and enjoyment of each other.
They can do
The
pleasure.
third reason
They
is
can adopt
sex.
children, and they can
and
give
having
themselves
children.
companionship. And as long as they're committed to each other, what is your issue with it?
The issue is simply that the purpose for which God created our sexuality was for a man and a woman to enjoy sex within that context. My heterosexual sex drive does not motivate me to have sex with just one woman. It's scientifically proven that my heterosexual sex drive motivates me to have sex with as many good-looking women as I possibly can. Now, as a thinking human being, I have to ask the question, but what is the purpose for which God gave me my sexuality? It's a question of purpose.
So would you support if they got a sex change operation and then entered the union?
I don't think that anybody has to have a sex change operation.
Well, I mean, they do to be with the person they love, according to you. I mean,
No,
because it's between
once
a man
again,
and
you're
a
putting
woman.
words in my mouth that I never said. You have a tremendous ability to misquote me. So I would ask you to listen more carefully and stop misquoting me. I try to listen to you and not misquote you. If you could return the favor, I'd appreciate it. So, the question for my homosexual friend and for me is, what is the purpose for which God created our sexuality? And according to Jesus Christ, the purpose is for a male and a female to make a lifelong commitment. He quoted Genesis 2:24. Now, the good news is that God loves you. And he sent his only son Christ to bleed and die on a cross to forgive you and to forgive me for our sin. So why not put our faith in Christ? Don't you think that'd be a wise decision?
No, I think that you should put your faith in yourself, always.
Okay, the reason I think that's an unwise decision is because the evidence is that although at times I do good, at other times I do evil. At times I love the rational, but at times I dabble in the irrational.
I think you're your own path to salvation. I mean, I believe in elements of Buddhism, which I know you don't support or think is possibly correct.
I support Siddhartha Gautama's Buddha. He was a tremendously fine thinker who struggled with the problem of suffering. Obviously, Jesus struggled with the problem of suffering and provided the ultimate solution for suffering. Eternal life in heaven where there will be no more suffering, no more death. What about embracing Christ's solution to the very real problem of suffering?
I don't think that Christ, in my opinion, gave the best solution. I think the Bible is used by the patriarchy to suppress women and other marginalized groups.
We agree. The Bible has been used to oppress women. We agree. The Bible has been used to oppress African Americans. We agree. The Bible has been used to justify the Salem witch trials, the Crusades, and the Inquisition. We agree on all of that. But Jesus Christ is different. Jesus Christ never oppressed women. He didn't call for the oppression of African Americans. He didn't call for the Crusades or the Inquisition. So let's reject Christianity and put our faith in Jesus Christ, as this woman has, who is different from this Christian history. I agree with you. Don't trust Christianity. It's horribly perverted.
I mean,
Jesus Christ, he's reliable in a way that Christianity is not.
I think that Buddhism is reliable in a way Christianity is not, and I believe
Good, tell me how.
The path through salvation, I mean, the sevenfold path is the
Yes.
path within yourself. And once you put yourself past material goods and looking to the material world, the suffering ends within yourself. So, I mean, I think you can find paths to enlightenment in a lot of different ways, and I don't think you should proselytize out here people and saying that Jesus Christ is the ultimate answer. Because clearly, I mean, we have hundreds and hundreds of cultures in this world. Obviously, there isn't one answer to the question of salvation or suffering. And that's where we're just going to have to totally break, because you're in duality of right and wrong, which is not the philosophy that I believe in. I believe in oneness, where we're all the same.
Okay, but let's be real honest. You've just made a truth claim. And it's a very exclusive truth claim. So please don't picture me as the only one out here making truth claims. You're making a truth claim also. You have every right to do that. I respect your right to do that. But let's not act like you're not making a truth claim. Let's not act like you're not making a point. Let's not act like I'm the only person out here making a point. You're making a point also. You're making a truth claim.
That's why I haven't gotten down here, because I'm just sick of always hearing your point. I'm tired of seeing it on my campus.
All right, but you still haven't answered the question that I asked you earlier, which is, why is woman valuable? Why are you valuable? Why?
I don't identify with myself as a woman. I am a trans sex person. I identify with myself as androgynous. I'm not a woman. I'm intersex.
Okay. Why are you as an intersexed woman,
I'm not an
intersex
intersex being.
Why are you as an intersexed being valuable?
For my ability to create and to change the world to make it a better place.